everybody, welcome back to the Rear Wing Report. I am Ryan with my fellow host, Steve. Steve, how we doing?
I am doing better than Lance Stroll.
Oh, yeah. Your life must be a nice stroll in the beach then.
Amen.
God, these
I wish it
cringy
was.
jokes that we got going on. This is bad. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back. We are now going to hit you with our Bahrain preview. So this is our episode where we're going to be kind of mentioning a few things. We'll play a little bit of trivia, see what I know about the track, if I know anything at all. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll talk a little bit about Bahrain in general. We'll talk a little bit about some struggling drivers that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, and people that are having a rough go of it a little bit. And we'll also make our podium predictions. We'll see who we think is going to be in our top three, who's going to win. Our last place bet, our last point, who we think is going to score that last point. Our best bets that we think are absolute locks, not legal advice, and our long shot bets. So we got a whole lot to talk about. But we also have our segment where we will talk about the Cadillac corner as the train's going by. Thank you, honk your horn 3 times. Thank you very much, Mr. Conductor. We'll talk a little bit about Cadillac and some stuff that's going on with them, given some changes over the past couple of weeks. So,
Alrighty.
Steve.
Yeah.
Bahrain. Hit me with some trivia questions.
Bahrain. Alrighty. I got a couple of trivia questions for you today. We're gonna mix and match our style. First one I'm gonna give you is open-ended. What year was the Bahrain Grand Prix first held?
Was I alive?
When were you born?
2000.
You were alive.
$2003.
You are so close. This is a great start for you. I'm going to give you half a point. The first Grand Prix was held in 2004.
Okay, 2004. Really?
Yeah. So well done to you there. Let's go next one here. Can you give me the length of the track? Now we're going to go. You run in kilometers or miles?
Miles. What am
Miles. All right.
What do I look like? European listeners, check into this podcast, but we do things in miles around here.
Well, I could give it to you in buses if you want. Okay. Like, how many buses long is the Bahrain track? Okay.
How am I supposed to guess that? That's like when my 4th grade teacher asked me how many jelly beans were in the jar. That's impossible.
Fair. Little tip for you: you count the outside and multiply it by 12, according to a formula I just made up. But
I'm like, did you measure the diameter and the circumference and all that?
Let's go over under 3.4 miles.
I've been really bad on my guesses recently with how long a track is and how many turns it has, so I'm going to go under 3.4 miles because I always think it's more.
Well done. It is 3.3 miles.
Okay, there we go.
Congratulations, Ryan. That is a winner. All right. Next up. Can you tell me who holds the record for most pole positions? There are 2 people tied with 3 pole positions apiece.
2 people, both current drivers.
I did not say that.
Okay.
One of them is a current driver.
Lewis
Hamilton is one.
He has the most wins on the circuit. Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel. Ryan, you are 2 out of 3. Let's go.
Here we go.
All righty. I wish these made noise. I need a kazoo
like
or something. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. This is left over from my daughter's birthday party. All right. Turn 1 is the only corner on the circuit with a name. What is the name of the turn? Is it Michael Schumacher? Is it Ayrton Senna? Is it Jacques Villeneuve? Or is it Nelson PK.
I'm gonna go with Jacques. Am I gonna get a history lesson with this one?
No, there's no history lesson. I don't know the history behind it. I just know the answer
What's the
is
answer?
Michael Schumacher. It is
Okay.
the only corner on the circuit with a name. Turn one is Michael Schumacher.
Interesting.
Yeah, it kind of came across that and I was like, oh, that's a fun one. Okay, we have our second to last question. Second to last question. Are you ready?
Yep.
In 2023, how many overtakes were completed? Was it over or under 75?
I'm gonna guess over, even though I feel like that's wrong.
It is correct.
Okay. All right.
Right, and you're
I was
doing quite
basing
well.
I was basing it off of Japan, because Japan, I guessed like it was a low number, but it was more, and you don't overtake a lot in Japan compared to Bahrain, even though you don't really pass that much from Bahrain either. But okay,
Yeah, the
solid.
total number of overtakes was 80.
Okay, all right, cool.
All
Like
right,
that.
your last question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
How many turns are featured at the Bahrain circuit?
15.
Very good. How'd you know that one?
I did my research before this.
I gotta start switching up the questions on you then. Thoroughly impressed with that one. Well done.
That's
I think
the only
you
one
got
I'm like, he's asked me that before. I got to make sure I know how many turns there are, because I guess 23 last week. But we had to cut it because I'm an idiot and I screwed up the audio anyway. So you guys didn't hear that, but I made some really bad guesses last time. I started off hot, but ended very poorly.
All right, fine. How many of them are right-handers?
Gosh. 7.
I gotta count them now.
It's like
7,
13 or
8,
something like that.
9, 10.
Okay.
10 if you want to count. There's a couple of them that are kind
You
of
could
not
double
really
count them a
turns.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like 15 is not really much of a turn. You take that flat out along with 7. But yeah, the total official count is 10. 10
Okay.
right-hand turns. But yeah, you did quite well.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Ryan. So, kind of moving on from that, some people who are not doing very well right now. We got a couple of struggling drivers on the grid that we wanted to spend some time talking about.
Right.
We had Carlos Sainz with Williams, has scored a single point, and has struggled to adjust to the car. Came in with a lot of expectations. To talk about that in a minute. We got Jack Doohan, who's not doing much in that Alpine. And then we got Liam Lawson, who obviously we've talked quite a bit about. He's been in the limelight for all the wrong reasons for the past 3 races.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of talking about what do they need to do. Like, let's start with take your pick. What does this driver need to do? What should the expectations be in the next couple races, and how do they meet them?
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It differs for each of them, and let's start with Sainz. Like Sainz, it's been a rough couple of weeks here, and we've mentioned him in other episodes and everything that maybe it's just that adjustment, getting used to the team and everything like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with Carlos Sainz. There's nothing wrong with him. It's just a matter of, can they put it all together, and that adjustment to the team is probably weighing a little bit more on him than I had imagined. And I'm just basing this off of the radio transmissions that we heard from last week. Did you catch those from Alex?
Oh, well, I heard him yelling at his race engineer.
He's yelling at his race engineer, and to me that reveals like maybe they are a little disorganized. And that can impact both of their drivers, right? Obviously, Alex is a little bit more accustomed to driving this type of car, this style of car. So, I feel like it is still just an adjustment thing for Carlos. I don't know. Do you have any insights on that?
I mean, I don't have any groundbreaking insights. My only thought is, and I have no information to back this up. This is pure just kind of speculation and like looking out for my guy, big Carlos Sainz fan. But I'm wondering if they were, because James Vowles came out and said, "Hey, we're focused on 2026. We don't really care about 2025."
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, obviously no driver's going to deal with that and just be like, all right, yeah, we don't care. But I wonder if they've been having Carlos focus more on like car development, and in F1, you don't always have the same car. You get different parts. Sometimes you have spec parts, sometimes you don't. We saw that very famously with Mercedes last year, as well as Aston Martin, where they were running different floors and trying different things out. So I'm wondering if they are having him focus on, maybe some different paths of development that they want to go down because he is known to be so in tune with the car, and the feedback and setup that he can kind of help extract from the car. If I was a Science fanboy, that's what I'd be like hoping to
Yeah.
hear. Um, so that's what I'm hoping to hear.
I,
But
yeah,
I,
I think that's really realistic. That to me is a much better educated guess than myself saying, he probably just needs a little bit more time. That makes sense. And you would want a guy like Carlos to be able to run those upgrades and kind of see how it happens for you, especially if they are saying like, let's worry about next year's development, kind of again put our resources over there, deal with that. You're going to want a guy like Carlos to do that. I don't necessarily know if you want Alex Albon to be doing that, I don't think like he just drove a Ferrari, right? He's going to kind of be
Mhm.
able to push them towards that direction a little bit more than say Alex Albon, who hasn't had the best cars over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just too used to the Williams, so he kind of forgets what's possible
Right.
in the other cars, and he just can't. He doesn't know what it feels like, right? And I'm sure he's very good. I mean, he's performed phenomenally, so I'm sure he's great at getting the maximum out of that car, and setting it up. But I wonder if there's just an aspect of kind of, hey, this is what used to happen in the Ferrari when I turned the steering wheel,
Yeah.
into a turn like this. Pure speculation, no
Hmm.
real idea.
Yeah.
Um, but I think he just needs a solid result,
Yeah.
in qualifying. If he gets into Q3, I think that's great. Or like he's nipping at the heels of Q3, but as long as one of the Williams is in, I think that's a realistic goal for them for the rest of the year. Is one Williams should be in the top 10 in qualifying every single week.
Yeah.
We heard all along how great their driver lineup, and it is a very good driver lineup. So, um, and I think a realistic expectation for him is to start to maybe close that gap to Albon as we get longer into the season. I don't think anybody's panicking with him. You're not hitting the
No.
panic button, are you?
No. Not at all.
Yeah, just time, patience, and honestly, for him, I don't even care about this year because that's kind of the stance I'm taking is just they're using his know-how and expertise to set up that car for next year. And so I'm interested to see next year what happens. How does he perform against Albon next year?
Yeah.
So, um, you know, you chose signs. I think I want to talk about Liam Lawson. Um, I've thought a lot about him over the past several weeks. We've talked a lot about him, and obviously gets the Red Bull seat, loses it after 2 weeks, finished, 19th, never got out of Q1 in any of his qualifying experiences for races, really struggled to get the car in the operating window, in his own words, and then gets demoted somewhat unceremoniously, in his own words, back to Visa Cash App. I don't know if you saw the report, but he said that he was doing some training and he got a call from Christian Horner and he goes, "We didn't discuss it. He just told me it was done and then hung up." So that gave me a little bit of a chuckle of like, he was
That's
expecting to at least
brutal.
have a conversation about it. Like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about it. And Christian was just like, "No, it's done. We've decided this. Click. Like, we're good to
Yeah.
go. Go back to Visa Cash App." But I think he's handled it about as well as you can in that sense. But what do you think are realistic expectations for him going forward? Like, what does he have to do to kind of keep his seat? Maybe look at getting another seat next year, or another shot at whether it's Visa Cash App or Red Bull for next year.
Yeah, I think he's really lucky that Red Bull has this little daughter team that they have, because I think he would be one of those kind of scenarios in Formula One that we've seen in the past where like a driver gets those couple of races and it's like, no, this was your shot, you didn't meet it. And granted, most of them weren't 2 weeks long, but like it's a good thing that he has that seat. So I think he's gonna have to do a lot. He's gonna have to put that car probably in the top 10 like a good handful of times. Like that's kind of the expectation. It's like he's going to be up there, and it doesn't have to be in that top 10 every time, but he's got to maintain like a top 12 kind of perspective on it. Like you kind of look at it from that route to be like, I'm going in, I'm competing for like those last couple of points, whether it be 1 point or 2 points. I don't care. I just kind of need to be around there. I need to put a couple of points by my name, or else you're just going to be another Logan Sargent, like where you're just going to be sitting there. Nobody's ever going to want to take a risk on you because you haven't shown any potential. And
you
but
leave
luckily
Logan
he hasn't
my
crashed
beautiful.
every single freaking car like Logan used to. Oh my gosh, that man put it in the wall more than I could count.
You leave my beautiful boy alone.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I'm sorry. It's a sensitive subject.
It's okay. Yeah, I think his best shot to kind of right the ship, as it were, is actually in these next 2 weeks. Right? He's kind of gotten through that awkward, interview stage of the press questions about how are you handling the demotion, what's this like, so on and so forth. Same thing with Yuki. You got through that. Oh, did you feel bad for Liam? How is the car adjusting? How is your home race? They can kind of just go race, and the next 2 weeks seem like the perfect avenue for them to do that, because you don't have time to go and think about what's happened. You just got to go race, right? And you go back to basics. I'm a racer. How am I hitting the apex? How am I setting the car up? So on and so forth. So I think these next 2 weeks will be a really good opportunity for him. But it also, if I'm him, I'm kind of worried about how do I perform in these next 2 weeks. Like if things start going bad in Bahrain, very quickly we could see him off the off the grid completely, right? And they're already talking about moving Jack Doohan out, who we'll get to in a second, putting Franco Colapinto in. But Red Bull has a decent stable of drivers, and they're willing to pay, as we've seen, to get what they believe is the right driver in or the wrong driver out. So I imagine that he's not feeling too stable, but I would expect that, I think the way he corrects is just go race in the next 2 weeks. And my expectation is much like yours. He's got to pick up points, right? And if he's not picking up points, he's got to be beating Hajar, and he's got to be right there, like you said. Hey, I'm 10th, I'm 11th, I'm 12th. I'm doing the George Russell from last year, where I'm there to collect whatever points are available when anybody with a faster car screws up.
Yep.
So
and that's you mentioned Jack Doohan, and we can transition right into that. I think that's like your strategy for Lawson is the same one that I would give Doohan. You get a couple weeks here, regain from that crash. I know that probably distracted him the rest of the weekend. But yeah, like we mentioned it last week with Colapinto, like you have this young guy sitting behind you. It's got to happen soon, and I don't think our team principal over there at Alpine is willing to wait. I don't think he is. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Ali Oaks and Flavio Briatore both, who's the special advisor, and is also Doohan's manager. Neither one of them seemed too supportive. I think they put him in a really bad situation, right? Like he is a second race rookie at a tough track where he said like it's a place where he being Doohan said it's a place where you really got to build your stones up, meaning your balls to kind of attack the corners. And they took him out of FP1, right? And so his first chance is FP2, obviously. But it's just like you're needlessly taking reps away from a brand new rookie. It's not like he's gone through most of the season. You're at a really familiar track that's kind of easier. It just seemed careless to me, almost like intentional sabotage.
Why aren't you taking Pierre out of the car, by the way, in P1 and FP1?
Right?
Why? Like he's not going anywhere. You're not getting rid of him, so you might as well let or you might as well let Calapinto take his FP1 and not let Doohan, like you said, who hasn't had that much time.
The conspiracy theorist in me thinks that they're setting him up for failure, and they're just trying to show people, look, we gave him a chance. He can't cut it. Here's Franco Colapinto, right? And that would be. I wouldn't be surprised if we woke up. We're recording this on Monday night. I wouldn't be surprised if we woke up on Wednesday and we find out that Jack Doohan is no longer the Alpine second driver. That's not a prediction. That's not my bold
All
or
right.
my long shot bet. But it just nothing about it makes any sense. Like you said, why are we not taking Pierre out? Why are we choosing this racetrack to take our driver who struggled out? If you want to set him up for success, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So it just, I think that for him, in order success and what that looks like for him, don't crash. As dumb as that sounds, go a week without having a crash, finish the race, and just be competitive. He showed, right? He went from 19th to 15th. He showed he can race a little bit. Now, whether he's Formula One material or not, that's doubtful. But I think that, in order for him to just kind of keep his drive, he's got to be, I think he's got to be finishing on average about like pretty much where we put Liam Lawson. He's got to be
Yeah,
in that 12.
around that range, 12 to
Yeah.
14 range, probably something like that. Just given their car, I would say.
Yeah. And then how far away is he from Gasly in terms of pace? Like those are the big things. I don't think it's going to go well for him. Do you think he makes it to the summer break?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that is
I think he'll make
a
it through I don't know. I really don't know. I think he'll make it through the rest of the year. I think maybe I'm being over speculative or something, but I think he'll make it till the end of the year. We'll see.
okay. So Bahrain is up next. I think that he is out of that car by the time we get to the Italian Grand Prix.
Okay. How
Yeah.
long? How far are we from that? How many weeks?
We got Bahrain up next, and then we have Saudi Arabia right after that. We have a 2-week break, and then we go to Miami.
Okay.
And I think that either before or after Miami, they're gonna pull him out of that car.
Okay.
At the very latest.
All right. Let's
But
write this down. Make sure we don't forget this, folks. By the way,
okay.
we'll cash this in a little bit.
All right. So we are saying, well, I am saying Doohan gone by the Italian Grand Prix. And we're talking about the first Italian.
You want to do a lunch bet?
Oh, we can do a lunch bet. That's fine. All right. Yeah. Doohan is gone by the Italian Grand Prix.
Okay, and then my aspect will be he scores a point by the time that he's gone.
Okay, so all right, sounds great.
By the time by the time we get to the Italian Grand Prix.
So if he doesn't score a point, but he's also still in the car, we just have to go and buy each other's lunches.
Yeah. Yep.
I love it.
We'll call it even.
All right. Sounds like we have our first official lunch bet. We should maybe start making this a weekly thing.
Yeah.
Of course, with my betting past, it probably isn't a good idea because my predictions last week were awful. But okay, so he'll score a point before he is kicked out. All right, we have our lunch bet.
Okay.
If you want to tail this lunch bet, you want to join in one way or the other, you can join us on, what are our socials, Ryan?
Pretty much Rear Wing Report on everything on YouTube and on Twitter and on Instagram. But you can also reach out and TikTok. And you can reach out to us anytime. Probably the best way to connect to us would be our Instagram or our email. So our email is just therearwingpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'll have a couple of we'll have a poll on our episode in Spotify, seeing which side of this bet you want to take, as well as on Instagram. So check those out as well.
Here we go.
All righty, we are gonna take a quick break, and we are going to move into our predictions for Bahrain. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I was just gloating to Ryan about how I feel very confident about our lunch bet. But one thing I do not feel confident about, Ryan, is this upcoming segment. This was
Ugh.
a travesty of Lance Stroll proportions for me last week. I struggled mightily. And for those of you who are new, our segment that we're talking about is our predictions. So we are going to predict the podium, who is going to score the last point, the Logan Sargent last place award. And then we're going to give out our best bet and our long shot bet of the week. Ryan, do you want to kick us off with your podium?
This is so tough for me. Last week we did this after qualifying. It made it so much easier. The training wheels are off now. It's pure analysis, Ryan, now. So first place, I'm going to have a Oscar Piastri victory. I think he's going to qualify P1, and he's going to end up winning the race. He would be followed by Max Verstappen and Lando Norris in third.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe even a George Russell. Gosh, I don't know. I want to get a little. Maybe it'll be my long shot bet. I'll make a crazy top three.
I love that for you. I like you said, we have no idea. We haven't even seen them run it all in terms of free practice, but I have a feeling that the podium is going to be Norris, and then I'm going to actually go George Russell.
Okay, I like that.
And,
I actually kind of thought maybe he'd be my third, but
and I'm going to round it out with Max Verstappen.
okay.
I don't know why. Russell has had a great start to the season. The car seems to kind of work in pretty much every condition, so I think they got to feel good about that. Last year, obviously, they struggled in the heat, and that doesn't seem to be the case now. They're very competitive as we go about, and he's been bang on with his qualifying, so I think he's got a pretty good chance to find himself competing for a podium. I'm sure that none of that will be right as we come up, but you know what? All we can do is give out our predictions. It's up to you to cash in on them.
Yeah.
Ryan,
There's one guarantee though. George
yeah.
Russell is exiting that car covered in sweat next weekend. That man, whoo, George.
Yeah, did you see he's the head of like the Drivers Association, and one of the things that he was angling for was he wanted there to be he wanted them to guarantee that there was going to be showers at all of the track facilities for the drivers, and his fellow drivers voted him down. They were like, "It's not a problem for us."
Poor
Because
George.
apparently some of the tracks that aren't maybe quite up to his standards don't have the showers, and he doesn't always have the races in Europe. Those mobile hospitality units have the showers, but like the one-offs or the flyaways, such as like Miami, don't generally have a shower in the hospitality unit. So he's not a fan of that.
Yeah, that's poor George there for sure. What about your
Yeah.
last place bet? What are you thinking for your last place bet?
Last place will be me because I will not get a single prediction correct, but I'm going to go with the last place. Let's do last point
Okay. Yeah.
because I want to kind of work my way through this so I can methodically get it wrong. I'm going to go last point is going to be. I'm going to go Carlos Sainz. I think he's going to pick it up this week.
Okay. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
What about you?
I'm gonna go with an Esteban Ocon.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of had a quiet start to the season. We were talking.
Yeah, he's due.
Yeah, but he's just kind of had some um, just very strange seasons so far and like strange results. Like when we were talking and we were looking at China, I was like, man, like Akan might be struggling a little bit. He had a quiet fifth place finish, but then you look back at Australia, which obviously is a rain race, and he's down in 13th and kind of just wasn't competitive. Was just nowhere to be found. So it's kind of been up and down for him. So I feel like it's good timing for you. He might be back on the come up after having a rough race last week. So I
Yeah,
think that's a great
I like it.
great prediction for you. All right. Who do you think is going to be last place? This is our Logan Sargent last place award. Who are you going to give this out to?
I'd be an idiot not to give it to Lance Stroll, but I know he's not going to do it again. He's not. I know he's not. He's going to finish P14. I can cash that in manifesting that.
I'm going to write that down too, just so we can check on that.
Okay, we can check on that. I think I'll just double down on my bet from last week. I think a young Gabriel Bortoleto is going to
Bortoleto.
get last. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going with it. I'm sticking with my gut.
Okay, I think that, listen, it's a great choice. Your gut has never steered you wrong. You got phenomenal taste in food, phenomenal taste in podcast partners. But I think that last place, I'm also going to double down. I think it's going to be Jack Doohan. I think that the pressure is going to be too much. He's just not going to perform, and we're gonna see the end of Jack Doohan soon here. Who knows? Maybe he'll try and take another turn flat out with DRS wide open, and they'll just say, "No, get out of the car." What is your best bet for the week? What do you think is for sure going to happen?
I think the best bet is that both McLarens will be in the top 3.
Okay, McLaren podium. All right, it's I mean,
it's a safe bet.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? That's how you make money, right?
Yeah.
You take the thing that you're very sure is going to happen, even if it's not the most money in return, and you just take those smart money and laugh all the way to the bank with your profits.
Yep.
My best bet is that George Russell and Kimi Antonelli will both finish in the top 5.
Look at that. Good timing. I put my hand up right away. I knew what you were going to say. I love that bet. I really do love that bet. I wouldn't even consider that a long shot. I think that's hyper realistic. I think this track will suit the Mercedes car very, very well too.
Yeah, and I've just been so impressed by the way that both of them have driven, and I think that they're just going to get better. They seem to have unlocked a few different things, and honestly, it doesn't even seem like that much of a bet because, hey, both McLarens, you get Max Verstappen, and honestly, the Ferraris, who knows what's going to happen with them on any week. But
right.
Both drivers have been very dependable in their roles so far. So I think that, I'm looking for great things from them from this week as well. Let's look for some other great things here. Give us one. We got the mortgage is due. We got $5 to our name. We got to put a bet down. What's it going to be, Ryan? What is your long shot bet of the week?
When in doubt, you thug it out. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, P1. He wins his second in a row, which would also put him in the lead of the Drivers' Championship. I think Max is going to get to the point eventually this season. I don't think it's now, where he's going to be like, Constructors' Championship, no shot. I'm going drivers. I'm thinking about myself and myself only. He's going to start driving like we used to see him drive, and I'm excited for that. So I'm going Max Verstappen P1. That's my long shot bet because I think there's maybe a 10% chance of that happening right now.
Okay.
So that's why I would consider that a long shot.
Okay. You want a long shot. I am going to give you quite the long shot.
Gosh.
All right. Isaac Hadjar, Kimi Antonelli, and Ali Behrman will all outscore their teammates.
Ali Behrman, Isaac Hadjar,
and Kimi Antonelli
are all going to outscore their teammates.
Yeah. I think it's going to happen this week. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it until the point of George Russell. I really don't. That's the one part where it's just like, I don't know if that can happen. But
I thought that would be the part you would like the most
I do
because
love
it's
it
your
because
boy Kimmy.
yeah, I do like it in that sense. I think it's possible. So, I think I might place that one. I'm gonna try to make a little bit of cash this weekend. Let's do it.
Don't blame me. You still have to pay for my lunch when Doohan's fired midweek.
And you owe me White Castle, so we're all good, right?
That's true. I already do owe you White Castle. Let's hope I don't leave another coffee pot plugged in. Otherwise, I'm going to owe you, Smith and Walensky's here pretty soon. Okay. So we got quite the predictions here. We got your bonus one of Lance and P14. So I think we got a good mix going forward. Do you feel like there's one driver who just really, like, if you had to say there's one person who just has to perform, who
That
would that
just
be?
has to perform.
Yeah, like they need it more than everybody else.
Oh, Jack Doohan. Yeah.
Jack Doohan.
Yeah, he needs it. He needs it really bad. Carlos Sainz needs it really bad. Everybody else, they're doing pretty well. I don't think anybody else is having any issues like that in the sense that they need to hurry up. Liam's Liam. I'm gonna keep his name out of my mouth for a couple of weeks and see how he does. But yeah, I think Jack Doohan really needs this race.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of just sprung this question on you. I didn't really put it in the rundown, and we didn't talk about it beforehand. But I wanted to go with somebody off track. Whoever the race director is for F1 needs to figure it out. Like, you had one interesting moment in all of Suzuka and you missed it and we had to watch it on replay.
Yeah.
You got Lando Norris doing, again, his best John Deere impersonation. And instead, we're watching Gabriel Bortoleto battle it out for 19th place, which I do appreciate because he was your pick to finish last. So I was interested in it. But again, in a race where nothing happened, you missed the one thing that did happen. So I think they need they need a good race here to kind of right the ship a little bit and make people feel a little bit more confident in the product.
Yeah. Or we can watch Lance Stroll get overlapped. That would be really cool. I'd enjoy that. God. I could watch a highlight tape.
How much do you think his dad would pay F1 TV to just not show it? It has to be more than like
10 million.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say more than $1 million, but 10 million probably sounds about right.
Yeah, he's got the money. Again, Lawrence, please just give me a drive, dude. I have no experience. I have no resume whatsoever. But I'm bald and I like to go fast.
I don't know what being bald. I guess you're more aerodynamic.
I'm more aerodynamic. Yeah.
You got to wear a helmet though.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
All right. So last up here, we have the Cadillac corner. They're not wearing helmets yet, Ryan. They are building their car, building out their team. And we had a little bit of news. This coming from the GM Authority website, gmauthority.com. And they had Cadillac revealing their timeline to build their car. And they were talking about it and saying that they are in a time crunch in order to finish building their car by Bahrain testing in February of 2026, but especially for Barcelona testing in 2026 as well, because we're getting double testing next year. So my question to you is, their main engineer says, Pat Simmons says he's not necessarily concerned about the tight turnaround, and he acknowledges there are potential obstacles and believes things will progress at the right pace, and says, quote, "We have taken what I think is a very conservative approach to producing that car, and I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. When you have everything established, you try and push everything to the last minute so you get maximum performance from the car. I don't think that's the right thing to do in our situation. We have to be up and running, and we have to be running efficiently at our first test in Barcelona next year." Hearing this, are you concerned that Cadillac is going to put a car on track that is less than what they said being one of the most competitive cars?
Yeah, I'm concerned. Last Cadillac corner, I was like, oh yeah, they're going to be really competitive out the gate. Yeah, no, I'm not very confident in that anymore. I don't think that, it seems like it's probably worse than what we can imagine just based on what they're saying to the media. You gotta kind of put in that little like lag effect of what they're gonna say. Like I think it's probably a little bit worse than we can imagine, that they're probably significantly behind, because somebody would have came out and been like, yeah, we're not ready for it, and that just looks even worse. So I feel like they're trying to get ahead of that a little bit, kind of save some false hope from kind of creating it. It might just even be like an atmosphere for fear thing for them at the factory of like, okay, it's not going the way that we don't want it to go, but that doesn't mean that we're just gonna chalk this up and look for our next endeavor. But yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they're about 2 bad weeks away from getting a Toto Wolff style letter to the shareholders apologizing for their car,
Yeah.
as Toto very famously did a couple of years ago when the Mercedes car was just adrift in no man's land. But yeah, I'm worried about it as well. When you go out there and go, well, we're not going to push everything to the maximum. That's exactly what F1 is all about, is pushing everything to the maximum. In that sense, love him or hate him, Jack Doohan did embrace the F1 style and push it to the maximum. And it seems like Cadillac is quite content to kind of fulfill that image that we have of them, of the old blue-haired ladies just kind of driving slow, barely peering over the steering wheel, instead of embracing this idea of being a racing team.
Yeah.
So I am concerned about that. I think it'll be an interesting thing to track where they're at, and see if they come with a whole different car between Barcelona and Bahrain next year.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I want to touch on with you, I know that we've heard a lot of rumors, and last week we were talking about Checo Perez being in what was termed advanced talks to be a Cadillac driver and return to the F1 grid. Allegedly, now it has come out that they prefer Zhou Guan Yu over Checo Perez. What are your thoughts on that?
Why? Why? What did Zhou Guan Yu accomplish at all? Can I like? That sounds really messed up of me. I gotta take that. Bad phrasing. That seemed really rude. But like, Sergio Perez has driven a constructor's winning car. Zhou Guan Yu has driven a absolute hot mess of a car.
Well, it sounds like the Cadillac might be a hot mess. Maybe he'll be right at home.
That's true. That's also a possibility. But still, why? Why? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense. Like, I think Checo is a clear kind of option. I know you feel a little bit differently than me on this. What do you think about it?
Oh, I don't want either one of them in the car.
Okay.
I want
Logan Sargent in there. Yeah.
Yes, if you could, clone Logan Sargent and put Logan Sargent and Logan Sargent in the cars, I would be immeasurably happy.
They
But
did clone those dire wolves. Now maybe they could get a little Max Verstappen DNA, clone him, and put him in the car and just call him Logan Sargent.
Oh God, don't tease me. That'd be great. But I think that the big thing that would be pushing Zhou Guan Yu, is they mentioned that the China market for selling cars and how it's untapped for Cadillac as of right now, and they see more growth potential there. And so with Joe as a sponsor,
Of course.
and a face that's well known and respected in China, that would be a way to kind of break into the market. I personally hate it. I don't like either driver that much, but I hate when F1 teams make decisions purely based upon commercial
Sponsorship.
viability.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would rather have Checo in the car than Joe. I don't care about how many people are actually looking at an F1 car and driver and then going, I'm going to go buy the car that doesn't go anywhere near as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, it seems stupid to me, but I hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, Logan Sargent, ride or die. Or I really liked your idea of last week of getting Checo Perez and
Danny Rick.
Danny Rick and Nick DeVries together. to form the triumvirate of Red Bull, the Red Bull Revenge roster.
Yep.
That person, I would love that. I think that'd be high times of hilarity. Just don't think there'd be a lot of performance in that car at
Yeah.
that point in time. So I hope the one thing they don't do is just go, hey, we're going to put Checo and Joe in. That scares me. Get somebody new in there and let's get some new blood on the grid. As we saw this year, it's a lot of fun. We got 3 rookies performing at a really high level, one who's been dealt a bad hand in Bortoletto, and then Jack doing just not doing much.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope so too. That'd be a lot more interesting, I think.
Yeah. So, Ryan, anything left that we need to cover?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, hey, we'll be back.
Yeah.
We'll be back here after the race to discuss all the highs and lows. Hopefully, there's a lot more happening in this race than we had last week. Hopefully, some of our predictions hit. You seem to do pretty well so far, so we will we'll have to check those out. Ryan, one more time, where can people find us in the interim?
You can find us at Rear Wing Pod at most of our social media website, but you can also email us anytime with questions. If you have a comment, anything you want to say, the Rear Wing Pod at gmail.com is our email. So hit us up on there, hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, any of those things, all at the Rear Wing Report.
And make sure that you take those, answer those poll questions that we will find on Instagram as well as in the Spotify episode description for this episode.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
All right, Steve. We'll see you after the race, and we'll see how we did this week.
Hopefully, it's a lot better, but I doubt it.
I hope so.
All right. Have a good one, Ryan.
All right. You too, buddy.